to speak from my heart, and so I'm doing that, so it's a little bit slower. And they also taught me that change is possible. So when I was growing up, I always say, when did you start like in the movement? And we talk about Idle No More, right? Well, Idle No More is the newest version of a 500-year struggle. And my revolution started as a fetus. So, because before I was born, I was brought up that you participate in the betterment of all people. So my dad was, I really appreciate the Peace Alliance and Project Peacemakers, because my father was one of the original protesters at the peace marches. In fact, he was one of the guys that got fired from his job for protesting in peace marches when there were 20 people at peace marches. And so I really appreciate your contribution to the movement, and I know that you're not idle either in terms of making the world a better place. So just growing up, I grew up folding pamphlets, going to protest marches. I remember during the anti-apartheid movement, although I was a young kid, I really enjoyed all the socials and for fundraising socials and all the events. And so I grew up with an understanding that, like Michael said, when there's injustice for one, it's in social injustice for all. And so I'm here today. I'm actually currently, I teach at the University of Winnipeg. I teach a course called Aboriginal Education and Multicultural Settings, and I'm involved in other things. And I'm currently the president at the Social Planning Council, and my life has been a really funny thing, because on all accounts I was supposed to be a failure. I was rebellious, a rebellious teenager, and I didn't like school very much because it was a racist institution. I found as a young person, I didn't really feel that my views were heard, and I didn't really see myself fitting there, so I left the institution and went to Eaton's Place. And for all of you who saw those kids smoking around Eaton's Place, I was one of them. And so I hear some laughter. Maybe we have other Eaton's Place smokers in the room. But yeah, so I find myself here today in a very privileged position where I'm not living in poverty, where I have a roof over my head and I have food in the fridge, but I never forget that we're all one step away from poverty, and that my privilege at this point in my life certainly doesn't count all the inequality that we currently have in this country, where people, based on very much still, and some people might argue with me, the color of our skin, where we are born, really affect our life choices and really determine whether we are going to live in a privileged way or live in poverty. And I think very often of our First Nations communities, because very simply where you are born, the color of your skin, the kind of legislation you have in this country really places us at a disadvantage for living in poverty. So I don't forget, as I flush my toilet every day, that many kids in this country are pooping in slop pails, and the topic of the day is how to build a pipeline and destroy our waters to result in more cash for big corporations, while our kids continue to live in abjective poverty in this country that espouses that we are a democracy. And feel very strongly about that. And when we talk about being idle no more, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of the fact that they talk about over 600 murdered and missing women when that number was taken so many years ago, and if you took the actual numbers, we're talking thousands, and nothing's being done. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of the fact that we can figure out a way to build a pipeline all across North America, and we can't figure out how to build pipes so that kids can have clean drinking water and toilets to poop in.